So today I wanted to do a video that I love seeing on other people's channels, and that is simply to go through my Penguin English Library collection. I love these editions of classics. I try to get them whenever I can. I fell in love with them a couple years ago when I bought Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. That was my very first Penguin English Library, and since then I have just been kind of buying them and hoarding them. I haven't read all of them yet, but yeah, I thought it would be interesting to just go through them because they are just so beautiful and I love to showcase them. I won't be dwelling too long on what they're all about because there are so many of them and that would be like an hour-long video, and plainly because some of them I haven't read yet and some of them I couldn't really give you proper explanation for those ones. So yeah, let's just dive right in. I will be going in kind of in a general hit or miss chronological order when they were published too. So the first one is Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. I actually talked about this one in my first English novel video. I have read this one for one of my classes in uni. Next is Pamela by Samuel Richardson. Again, I talked about this in that same video, and I read it for that same class too. Then I have Tom Jones by Henry Fielding. This one is gigantic, and I read half of it for a class. Humphrey Clinker by Tobias Smollett. Evelina by Frances Burney. I've read this one and I loved it. The Monk by Matthew Lewis. I read this one and it is crazy. Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I just love the colors on this cover and the keys are so perfect. Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I still have my thesis page flags in this one. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Oh, this one's kind of shiny. Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. Like I said, this was the first one I got. Emma by Jane Austen. Persuasion by Jane Austen. The Murders in Rue Morgue and Other Tales by Edgar Allan Poe. Villette by Charlotte Bronte. I haven't read this, but I'm so excited. This cover is so beautiful. Shirley by Charlotte Bronte. I went to the ends of the earth to get this copy. A lot of the earlier editions of these are actually out of print now, and I really wanted Shirley to go with Villette because I just loved the cover. So I was scouring Amazon and thrift books and all those kind of secondhand websites to get it, and I finally found one. I paid a bit much for it and it's not in the best condition. It has writing on the inside from some old lady who ever had it before, but no matter. I have it now. I haven't read it yet, but of course I'm really excited to get to it. Lady Audley's Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. Again, sorry that's a little bright. Ivanhoe by Walter Scott. I think this cover is adorable. It's like little 8-bit knights jousting. The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. I read this one and I enjoyed it, but the really heavy focus on Christianity kind of took me out of it. North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I've actually seen the miniseries of this, but I haven't read it yet, but I love the miniseries, so I'm really excited to get into reading this. Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. The printing is actually a little bit off, so you can see the spine on the cover. Blasphemy. Mary Barton by Elizabeth Gaskell. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I think this also has Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. Middlemarch by George Eliot, which I am currently reading. I'm almost finished and I'm loving it so far. Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy, which I read and I really enjoyed, and the movie adaptation that came out recently is so good. Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. I also read this one, but I really didn't enjoy it as much as Far from the Madding Crowd. Daisy Miller and The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. That's two shorter works compiled together. I used to think it was like a Harry Potter kind of title, like Daisy Miller and The Turn of the Screw, but I was wrong. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. And there is actually a second shorter work called The Bottle Imp included in this one. I really love this story and I really love this cover. Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson and The Ebb Tide by Robert Louis Stevenson compiled together. The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. It is tiny. The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells. And yet somehow I don't have World of Worlds. The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton. The Man Who Was Thursday by G.K. Chesterton. I haven't read this one, but it's like an early spy novel, which I think is super exciting. I love spy stories. Howard's End by E.M. Forster. And finally, A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. And it's a little too bright for you to see. So that is a quick run through of my complete collection of Penguin English Library. You can see that I removed them all from that shelf. I have the perfect amount right now that from end to end, that shelf is just perfectly filled with these editions. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I adore these editions. Let me know if you've read any of these that I haven't read yet. I'm really excited to read all of them. And I'm also pretty excited. They just announced that they're doing more Penguin English Library editions, and they're continuing from I think 1914 is where they kind of cut it off before, but now they're doing it I think up until like 1945, up till the Second World War. So they're gonna have F. Scott Fitzgerald and Louisa May Alcott and H.P. Lovecraft and stuff all in their collection now. And I hope you enjoyed watching, and please consider subscribing. If you want to find me elsewhere, I have all my links down below to my Goodreads, my Instagram, and my Twitter. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.